Your life changes the moment you change the way you think, because everything you will ever become, achieve, or experience begins in your mind long before it shows up in your reality. The greatest transformation you will ever go through is not the result of luck, a new job, more money, or someone giving you an opportunity. Real transformation begins the moment you receive a message that shakes your thinking, stretches your imagination, and challenges the small version of yourself that you have settled for. Most people spend years waiting for life to shift, waiting for circumstances to improve, hoping that something external will magically open a door for them. But the truth is, your future does not respond to your wishes or your circumstances. It responds to your mindset. A single idea, a single truth, a single moment of clarity can do more for your life than years of effort in the wrong mindset. One life-changing message can act like a seed planted in the soil of your mind, and that seed begins to push roots through old beliefs, outdated fears, and the experiences that once held you back. It replaces confusion with clarity, hopelessness with direction, and doubt with possibility. It forces you to confront the reality that the only thing standing between you and the life you desire is the way you think about your potential and the meaning you assign to the events of your life. Every vision you will one day fulfill starts first as a thought. Every breakthrough you will ever experience begins as a shift in awareness. Every new chapter of your life starts when your thinking evolves to match the future you want to step into. Most people do not realize how much power they give away simply by believing small thoughts. A mind conditioned to expect little cannot attract anything greater than what it believes it deserves. When your thinking is limited, your opportunities shrink, your confidence weakens, and your decisions become controlled by fear. Life becomes a cycle of repeated disappointments, not because you are incapable, but because your mindset keeps pulling you back to the familiar. You can never rise beyond the thoughts you repeatedly tell yourself. That is why one powerful message, one truth spoken at the right time, can break that cycle. When a message reaches the right place in your heart, it begins to dismantle all the invisible walls you built around your life. The walls made of fear, insecurity, self-doubt, and the belief that you are not ready or not enough. Everything about your life begins to shift the moment you realize that nothing is permanent except the meaning you give it. Events do not define you, your interpretation of them does. Failure is not what destroys you. The belief that failure means you are not capable is what destroys you. The past is not the problem. The conviction that your past determines your future is the problem. When you change the way you think about yourself, your identity transforms. When you change the meaning you assign to your past, your future expands. When you begin to think from a place of possibility instead of limitation, your life begins to rise accordingly. A new belief can open doors you never knew existed. A new thought can introduce you to opportunities that were always around you but invisible to your old mindset. A new understanding can empower you to take steps you were once too afraid to take. And the moment that inner shift happens, your world begins to rearrange itself to match the person you are becoming. You start to notice possibilities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to recognize strength in yourself that you once ignored. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" And you start asking, "What if this is the moment everything changes?" You were not created to be controlled by fear, doubt, or the expectations of others. You were created with potential that cannot be measured, with abilities that reveal themselves only when you challenge the thoughts that have been limiting you. The message that changes your life forever is the message that awakens that truth. It reminds you that your mind is the architect of your reality. The blueprint of your future is drawn from the thoughts you choose to believe today. If you choose small, fearful, and doubtful thoughts, you will build a life that reflects those limitations. But if you choose thoughts that affirm your worth, your power, your purpose, and your direction, your life will expand to match that greatness. The most dangerous place you can ever live is inside a mindset that convinces you that you are powerless. A powerless mind creates a powerless life. You stop dreaming boldly. You stop taking risks. You stop believing that you deserve more. But when a message shatters that mindset, when a truth hits you so deeply that you can no longer pretend to be the smaller version of yourself, your entire life begins to shift. You start to think in terms of growth instead of survival. You stop looking for reasons why something will not work, and you start searching for strategies to make it happen. You stop shrinking to fit your environment, and you start expanding to match your potential. Many people are trapped not by their circumstances, but by the stories they keep telling themselves. Stories like, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes, I don't deserve success, or people like me never make it. These stories are lies dressed as reasons. They feel true because you've repeated them for years, but the moment you challenge them, the moment a message exposes them as illusions, they lose their power. Your life begins to grow at the speed of your courage to rewrite the story you believe about yourself. The message that changes your life is the one that gives you permission to choose a new story, one built on strength, dignity, potential, and possibility. When you shift your thinking, you shift your habits. When your habits shift, your actions transform. And when your actions transform, your results begin to align with the future you dream of instead of the fear you used to live in. The message that transforms your thinking does not just inspire you, it awakens you. It forces you to question everything you once accepted as unchangeable. It makes you realize that you are not defined by your environment, your upbringing, your financial situation, or the opinions of others. You are defined by the way you choose to think about your potential and the courage you have to act on that thought. A moment of clarity can replace years of confusion. A moment of awakening can collapse years of fear. A moment of truth can erase years of self-doubt. And all of it begins with a message that hits you so deeply that you can never return to the person you were before you heard it. Sometimes that message comes through a book, a mentor, a speech, a setback, or even a painful experience. But regardless of where it comes from, the effect is the same. Your inner world changes, and your external world has no choice but to follow. You begin to stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop blaming others and start taking responsibility for your own direction. You stop allowing your emotions to control your decisions, and you start training your mind to think at a higher level. You stop allowing fear to dictate your path, and you start letting purpose guide your steps. You stop waiting for the perfect time, and you start realizing that the perfect time is the moment you change your thinking. Most people underestimate how quickly life can change once your mind changes. You can spend 10 years feeling stuck, confused, or frustrated, and then one message shows you a new way of seeing yourself, and suddenly the obstacles that looked impossible begin to shrink. The doors that seemed locked begin to open. The dreams that once felt distant begin to look achievable. It isn't magic, it's mindset. Your thoughts create momentum, and momentum creates breakthroughs. Some people hear the right message but ignore it. Others hear the same message and begin to live differently. The difference is not the power of the message, but the readiness of the mind receiving it. When you finally become tired of limiting yourself, tired of doubting yourself, tired of repeating the same cycles, the right message becomes life-changing. It becomes the fuel for a new direction, a new passion, and a new identity. Your life rises or falls to the level of your thinking. Everything you admire in others, confidence, success, purpose, clarity, began with a thought they chose to believe. And the moment you choose to elevate your thinking, you too begin to rise. The right message at the right moment becomes the spark that ignites a completely new life. One marked not by fear but by faith, not by limitation but by potential, not by doubt but by direction, not by survival but by purpose. Your future begins the moment you decide to think differently. It begins the moment you stop accepting your old limits. It begins the moment you receive a message that awakens the greatness within you. And when that inner awakening happens, you become unstoppable, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because your mindset becomes stronger than your challenges. The world around you may remain the same, but the world within you becomes powerful enough to change everything. A life-changing message reveals the power and responsibility you already carry, because the truth is you are not waiting on life. Life has been waiting on you from the very beginning. Most people drift through the world hoping that success will bump into them by accident, believing that one day something external will magically lift them out of their struggles and place them into greatness. They wait for motivation, wait for opportunity, wait for luck, or wait for someone else to notice their potential. But the message that truly transforms your life forever is the one that shatters the illusion of waiting and makes you realize that everything you desire, every dream, every achievement, every breakthrough, requires your participation. It demands your decisions, your discipline, your courage, and your willingness to take responsibility for who you want to become. This message does not flatter you, it awakens you. It does not tell you what you want to hear. It tells you what you need to hear. It confronts the part of you that has been hiding behind excuses, blaming circumstances, and postponing your potential. It teaches you that the moment you stop handing your power to external forces, you begin to experience the strength that was always inside you. You realize that you are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by how you respond. You are not controlled by the limitations of your past. You are shaped by the decisions you make in the present. And when that truth hits your mind with clarity, it becomes impossible to return to the old version of yourself. A life-changing message forces you to confront the roles you have unconsciously accepted. Many people live as victims, not because they are powerless, but because they have never been taught that power is a choice. They look at the world and see themselves as small. They look at challenges and see themselves as defeated. They look at opportunities and believe they are unqualified. A victim mindset convinces you that everything is happening to you and nothing is happening through you. But when the right message reaches your heart at the right time, that mindset begins to crumble. You begin to see that you have authority over your thoughts, your decisions, your habits, and your direction. You realize that your future does not belong to chance, it belongs to effort. And that simple but profound realization can change the trajectory of your entire life. The message that awakens your responsibility is rarely comfortable. It requires honesty. It requires reflection. It forces you to admit that some of the disappointment in your life came from the choices you made, the opportunities you avoided, the fear you allowed to rule you, and the potential you left unused. And even though that realization may hurt at first, it ultimately liberates you, because what you take responsibility for, you gain the power to change. Responsibility is not a burden. It is a doorway. It is the path that leads from stagnation to growth, from excuses to impact. The moment you accept responsibility for your future, you reclaim the power to design it. Power has always lived within you, but it becomes visible only when you are ready to use it. The message that changes your life is the one that helps you see that your decisions shape your destiny. Every choice you make, what you believe, what you focus on, what you chase, what you tolerate, what you commit to, creates ripples that eventually form the life you experience. People often underestimate the small decisions, like choosing discipline over comfort, choosing learning over entertainment, choosing effort over excuses. But over time, these small decisions compound and transform your identity. They shape your character, your habits, your level of confidence, and ultimately your success. When you fully embrace the truth that your choices create your reality, something extraordinary happens inside you. You stop feeling helpless. You stop feeling jealous of others. You stop waiting for permission. Instead of asking, why isn't life giving me more? You begin asking, what can I do with what I already have? That shift is powerful. It turns obstacles into training grounds. It turns challenges into opportunities to grow. It turns failures into lessons instead of reasons to quit. It turns your future into a space of endless possibility rather than a continuation of your past. Once you step into the mindset of a creator instead of a victim, you begin to see that you are responsible not only for your life, but also for the lives you influence. Every action you take sets an example. Every breakthrough you achieve becomes a possibility for someone else. People are watching you even when you don't realize it. Your family, your children, your peers, your community. Your courage becomes a permission slip for others to be courageous. Your growth becomes a mirror that shows others what is possible. Your transformation becomes a message louder than words. When you change, you don't change alone. Your life becomes a catalyst that affects everyone around you. A life-changing message often arrives through a moment of struggle or disappointment. Sometimes it arrives when you are tired of repeating the same cycles. Sometimes it arrives after failure has humbled you enough to listen. Sometimes it arrives in a single sentence that cuts through confusion and reveals the truth you have ignored. But regardless of when or how it arrives, the message redirects your entire life because it changes the way you see yourself. Once you understand that the power to shape your future is already inside you, you can no longer settle for half-hearted effort or a small life. You begin to take ownership of your time. You begin to prioritize growth. You begin to invest in yourself, your mind, your mindset, your skills, your discipline. You begin to refuse excuses. You begin to break patterns that wasted your energy. You begin to speak differently, think differently, and make decisions that reflect the future you want, not the one you fear. And with every responsible choice you make, life responds in your favor. Responsibility is often misunderstood. People think it means carrying heavy burdens or doing everything alone. But true responsibility is simply the recognition that your life is built by your choices. It means understanding that no one is coming to save you, but also realizing that you are more capable than you once believed. It means accepting that your dreams will not grow in the soil of excuses. It means understanding that greatness is not accidental, it is intentional. Every person you admire, every leader, every creator, every success story became who they are by embracing responsibility, not avoiding it. When a message reveals the power inside you, it awakens the part of you that wants to grow, to expand, to rise. It shines a light on your potential and refuses to let you hide behind fear. It calls out the strength you forgot you had. It reminds you that you are equipped for more than the life you have been settling for. It challenges you to stop surviving and start building. It challenges you to stop repeating the past and start designing the future. It challenges you to stop living by default and start living with intention. And this awakening is not a temporary motivation. It becomes a new identity. You stop thinking like the person you used to be. You begin thinking like the person you are becoming. You begin imagining a bigger future. You begin believing that you have a purpose worth fighting for. You begin taking steps that align with your new awareness. You begin seeing opportunities everywhere because your mind has shifted from passiveness to capability. This message has the power to change your relationships because when you understand responsibility, you stop expecting people to complete you or fix you. You show up in relationships with strength and clarity instead of insecurity. You give more because you take ownership of your emotional growth. You attract people who are also growing, who also believe in responsibility, who also take ownership of their lives. This creates healthier connections, deeper respect, and stronger support systems. It changes the way you handle adversity. Instead of breaking under pressure, you look for the lesson. Instead of quitting, you look for another strategy. Instead of blaming life, you ask what you can control. Challenges stop being stop signs and become stepping stones. You no longer fear failure because you understand that responsibility includes learning from setbacks instead of being defined by them. It changes the way you see success. You understand that success is not luck, it is built. It is earned through consistent actions aligned with your goals. It is created by discipline when motivation disappears. It is protected by responsibility when distractions attempt to derail you. And once you accept that success is your responsibility, you stop resenting those who have it and start studying them. You stop wishing and start working. You stop drifting and start directing your life. From this message, a new version of you emerges, one who understands that power without responsibility is wasted potential, but responsibility without power is a lie. You carry both, you always have. The message simply reminds you of that truth, and once you understand that life is not something happening outside of you, but something responding to the choices within you, you stop living small. You start living boldly. You start making decisions that honor your potential. You start walking as someone who knows that their life has meaning, purpose, and impact. That revelation does not just change your life, it changes the lives of everyone you influence. Your courage inspires others. Your discipline motivates others. Your transformation becomes proof to others that change is possible. And your responsibility becomes a legacy that continues long after the moment you first heard the message that awakened your power.